Welcome back. This is TV3 New Days. Time now for the big issue, and shortly we'll be getting into the details of what happened yesterday, the rioting that took place, of course, and that misunderstanding between the police and the Arise Ghana demonstrators. On the back of the responses that were received from the police and, of course, accusations that have been leveled against them by the leaders of Arise Ghana. But even before we get into that, and even before I introduce my guest to you, let's go back. Today's day 2 of the Arise Ghana demonstration, and per what the leaders have said, they are converging at El-Wak. We'll go through the Christ the King traffic light to Akwe J, and then finally to the ministries, and then to Parliament to present their petition and also address, the demonstrators. Let's hear from Komla Adom what the situation is like on the ground at the moment. Good morning, Komla.
Hi, good morning, Bella.
All right, thank you for joining us. What can you tell us? How many people, generally, do you see around the place already?
Well, Bella, if you come here to the El-Wak sports stadium, you find a handful of individuals who have already converged here, expecting that leadership of the Arise Ghana movement will show up in a few minutes to give directions about how day 2 of the protest will, unfold. But I have to say, Bella, since I've been here a few minutes, I've seen some of the individuals clad in their red. Others are looking already dejected because, according to what they tell me, the military officials here are not allowing anybody go past a barricade. I'm going to show you in a very few minutes. So if you come along with me, you find that, there are 2 barricades that have been stationed just here. Those of you who know this particular route very well know that this stretch takes you to the Bema camp proper, and then one side of it, the wing, is the El-Wak Sports Stadium entry. But you can see that there are 2 barricades here. The military officers are not, allowing anybody at all to go past this barricade. So it is unclear at the moment whether or not the individuals are expected to converge on the El-Wak Sports Stadium proper or just around this enclave where they are going to be backed out instructions, then they begin the protest. So this is what the situation is. A number of military police, are here. I can count 4 of them. They have told us absolutely nothing at all about why these barricades are here, but they ensure that none of the individuals I've seen here so far has been able to make it past this point. Let me just engage some of those who have been here to find out exactly, why they've come so early, because we know that the time for the convergence was, 9 a.m. according to what the demonstrators.
But quickly, before you speak to someone, I just want to, can you hear me, Komla?
How long have you been here for?
Oh, okay.
I just came in about 15 minutes ago.
Okay.
And though I have been stating that the time for convergence was supposed to be 9 o'clock, this is to show. Yesterday, I was at the Echo place of Brasco at 6:45. This is to show how Ghanaians as citizens are determined to spew vengeance on Ekukwado, to let him know that he can't take the nation for ransom.
Okay.
Ghana doesn't belong to one man, one action man. It doesn't.
We'll get into all of that, but I want to find out, since you've been here, what have you been told about?
Know that he can't take the nation for ransom. Ghana doesn't belong to one man. One action man, it doesn't.
We'll get into all of that, but I want to find out, since you've been here, what have you been told about whether or not you're going to be able to converge on the El-Wak Sports Stadium or just hanging around here until the organizers show up?
Definitely, with the barricade being shown and me being a mature person, putting 2 and 2 together, I can just validate what you said, that the military doesn't want us to go beyond the barricade, and we wouldn't violate that. We would just converge here. This is a Ghanaian land, and if they'll come and uproot us from this place as well, let them come. In fact, today, we will not be lawless, as yesterday being portrayed by some media houses that the demonstrators were lawless. No demonstrator was lawless yesterday.
But we saw videos of some of you throwing stones at the police. That is clearly not lawful.
How was it triggered? If I may ask. Nothing happened until the police started opposing us and shooting tear gases at us.
That will also be because you were deciding to use the routes not agreed on.
Not agreed on by who? When Anadu, during his time in opposition, he went, or he was part of the organizers of the Kumi Preku. Was it the police that directed them or gave them the route to take? No. So why is Nanado now through Dampari dictating to demonstrators the route to take? It is illegal.
So as you can see, there are very animated individuals here already who are building up, I have to say, Bella, to the second day of a demonstration, which is expected to begin in a few minutes. I will attempt to speak to some more individuals. Let me get through to see if I can get through to some of the ladies who are here. Pacho, good morning. Pacho, me pese me hudi entina owaha.
Imbaje me Ghana card.
Oh, ubeje Ghana card. Don't can demonstrators now.
Actually.
But oba and then I can't show.
Imba I said demonstration inti. Your mama enko inside inti.
Oh, okay. So you heard that she is not part of a demonstration. She's here to receive her Ghana card, but she's been told that nobody is going beyond this barricade. So those who are here to even claim their Ghana cards are not going to be able to do so until the individuals who are converging here move away from here on this demonstration, so the area is clear. So Bella, this is Mami. Maybe I want to so obejo Ghana card. Ghana card. Okay. So these ladies, as you see here, about 6-7 of them are here to take their Ghana cards, and that clearly will not be possible at this point because the military is unable to allow them to go past the barricade. So it's building up, I can say. As I speak to you, there are individuals who are streaking in their numbers, and they are going to be converging on here, awaiting a directive from leadership of your organization of this particular protest. So they have, you know, the way forward, the routes to use, because we know today they are going to go to Parliament, present a petition there, and also go to the ministries where they will also be engaging some individuals. And I have to also make a quick announcement that traffic is already building up to my right. You can see vehicles that are heading towards the Bema Camp area is slow moving traffic, as you see. Those who are also moving from Bema Camp to the Central Business District also having some, you know, slow moving traffic. So that is the latest from here, Bella.
Thank you so much, Komla Adome, and that's Komla Adome at the El-Wak Sports Stadium, of course, giving us updates on the demonstrators and how many of them may have arrived at the place hoping to begin another round of demonstrations. But before we even get into this conversation, let me quickly say happy birthday to Emmanuel K. Was Danku. Happy birthday to you. And also, this segment is proudly brought to you by Niche Cocoa. And well, if you're looking for something that's tasty and rich with vitamins, then definitely has to be Niche Cocoa and their new introduction, which is the Niche chocolate drink. And so they have them in different forms. You can have the bottle, you can have the pack, and also you can have the sachet that can be mixed with hot water as well. It's really up to you, and I hope that my guests will enjoy it. But if you're looking for that breakfast or that quick lunch that you can grab, especially when you're very busy, then it has to be Niche chocolate drink. In the studios this morning, and we're going to be having a conversation extensively about the situation on the ground. So we have in the studios Mr. Richard Kumado. He is a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. Good morning.
Thank you, Bella.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
You're good?
Thank you.
All right. And also we have Dr. Vladimir Echi Danso, and he is actually the Dean of the University of Ghana, Legon Lycia. Well, good to have you in the studio, sir.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you're doing well.
I'm not at Lycia
anymore.
No.
Okay. Apologies for that. Ghana Armed Forces, pardon me, Command and Staff College. Thank you so much. I hope you're well.
I'm doing good.
All right, good to have you. Now, let's start off by taking a look at what went down yesterday on the ground. So it was supposed to be day one of the demonstration by Arise Ghana. But even before that started, of course, you do know that there was a court ruling that was given, of course, sought by the Ghana Police Service, trying to change the route and also the time. Because initially, the Arise Ghana demonstrators were hoping that they could start from 12, converge at 12, begin their demonstration at 3 and end at 10 p.m. But the police went to court and were able to secure an order that indicated that they were supposed to start at 8 p.m. and end at 4 p.m. and the route was also changed. So they could not go and converge at the Jubilee House like they had expected. And so, of course, that caused some disturbances on the ground, especially concerning the route. And even before they started to embark on this demonstration, the IGP, Dr. Dampari, spoke to the Ghana Police Service, and this is what he had to say. Take a look.
We should continue to remember that those demonstrators are human beings like us. Those demonstrators are Ghanaians like us. They are our brothers and sisters. And therefore, we should treat them with all the respect, the severity, and the and the dignity that each and every human being deserves. In effect, we should treat them the way we would have loved to be treated if we were on the other side. And from that, it means, as you go out there, if anybody needs help, help the person. If it is you, that is your effort, that is going to take for somebody to continue to live in order to accomplish his God-given destiny, please do that. And do that joyously. Do that with love. Do that with a sense of humility. Do that with a sense of humility and humanity. And at the end of the day, we win the hearts and minds of these demonstrators. And as a way of contributing towards that, we are deploying 2 mobile police hospitals for the purpose of this demonstration, both for yourself and also for any demonstrator who may need our assistance in this regard. We want to show the world that as a country, our democracy is growing from strength to strength. And this is a finest opportunity to demonstrate that. And we cannot, and I repeat, we cannot miss this opportunity. So finally, as we go there and go out with all that we have shared, we want to see that the end product will be as follows. 1, the demonstrators themselves and their leadership will be so happy with us that after the demonstration, they will come and wanting to say a big thank you. 2, the rest of the people of Ghana will also be so glad in terms of the way we have conducted ourselves and in terms of the way the demonstrators have also behaved, such that we will be proud of ourselves as a country. And 3, the rest of the world will also continue to see us as a beacon of hope in the sub-region and beyond when it comes to democracy, when it comes to peace, when it comes to demonstration of humanity. So as we go there, we know we can do exactly that. Let's go there and shine. Let's go there and win the hearts and minds of the demonstrators. Let's go there and win the hearts and minds of the people.
That is Dr. Dampare, the IGP, and he said, of course, and treated the Ghana Police Service to treat the demonstrators with dignity. Is that what really happened? Let's hear from one of the leaders of Arise Ghana, and he's also the Director of Communications for the NDC, Samit Jemfi, who pointed some accusing fingers at the Ghana Police Service after the rioting took place.
We have a responsibility as organizers of the demonstration. We led the people to Obra Sports to ensure that those injured get the needed health care, and recover. We also have a responsibility to visit those who have been detained and ensure that they get the needed legal aid. And so we are going to do that. In fact, we have already started doing that. And you saw what happened. Even when we decided not to breach the court order, even when we have filed an appeal and a stay of execution, the police refused to accept the process from a court bailiff. They refused to respect the court processes. They refused to even allow us to gather at Circle, a public place where Ghanaians from all walks of life visit, gather at on normal days. They refused to allow us to just gather at Circle. So you won't let us go to Jubilee House, you won't let us go to ministries, you won't let us stay at Circle. If somebody tells you that your uniforms as police officers are manufactured with our taxes, is that reason enough to arrest the person and detain the person? That is how reckless, that is how high-handed, that is how brutish and barbaric the police were today. Yes. But we are on fast, we are not intimidated, because we believe in what we are doing. We are not doing it just for ourselves, we are doing it for the millions of Ghanaians who would have loved to be here, but for one reason or the other couldn't be here. And we are doing it for the sake of Ghana and posterity. And we know posterity will judge as well. And before we conclude,
yes,
let me use this medium.
Some resistance from the police again tomorrow, because you say you gathered peacefully.
Well, of course, the police also released a statement. In fact, 2 statements yesterday detailing exactly what happened. They say they were attacked unprovoked, and so they also had to respond by, releasing tear gas and also using water cannons. And then later, they gave us a number of demonstrators that had been arrested, 29 of them. And indeed, they said that they intend to arrest the organizers of the demonstration and put them before court for the attacks and the damage to public property in line with the provisions of Section 3 of the Public Order Act 491. Let me start off with Mr. Kumado, because, again, the police have not been in the news, in recent times for the right reasons. From Ejura, to recently the happenings, in other areas as well. So clearly, I'm sure that lots of Ghanaians were hoping that for once in the last few, maybe 2 years or so, there would actually be a demonstration without rioting and without the police reacting the way they did. Do you think they acted professionally?
It's not whether they act professionally. When it comes to the word professionalism, it's 2 things. It's your conduct and action. So we ask whether did they act properly or did they conduct themselves properly. And those 2 things will go back to Dan Parry. When Dan Parry was appointed, I've had those discussions here and with you and Johnny and Co, that he's somebody I believe in and I want him to succeed. But look as if certain people want to put, like we say in our local language, they want to put Sansan in his gari. And if you listen to what he said before they went on demonstration, it is a direct opposite of what we saw. And it has affected their credibility again, and they would need to work very hard. But something is happening, Bella. There's a trend that is being built. After we saw the mess in Ejura, there has been a narration from the hierarchy of the police or law enforcement in general. We went to Nkranza, and the news was that the people were so empowered that they threw stones at the police and they got injured. So they opened live bullet at them. Then we came to the Muslims, the Muslim school.
Islamic.
And the students were so empowered that they threw stones at the police and they got injured. And they opened live bullet. We saw what happened. Yesterday in Accra, the demonstrators were Goliaths and they were so giant and they threw stones at them. And a number of police people got injured. And we saw the mess. I'm thinking that narration is creating a trend that in security management or security operations, it's not looking so well for the police. And that is where my worry is. And I think we can do it. We need to do it so well that we don't want to see the kind of things we are seeing.
But should we even go by the response from the police? Because we've heard also from the organizers of the demonstration, and they're accusing the police of the ones instigating the rioting yesterday. Because the police said what? They were attacked unprovoked and they had to respond by, firing tear gas. But these demonstrators are saying that we were just having a conversation. We're addressing the demonstrators before we realized the police were pushing against us and they started firing tear gas. Whose story should we believe at this point?
In many of the demonstrations in Ghana, except in 2004 when I was in London, I have a group called Security and, Security Watch. And we traveled across the country, not just in Ghana. Yesterday, I left home around 3 a.m. We normally go route to the route and pick out the red flags and what would be the warning signs for analysis. And we pass the information on to people in high places so that they could also prepare themselves. What was a major case for the demonstrators? The president lives around Nima. And you remember years back, the history has it that there was a El-Wak that somebody put a trigger in front of the president's house. So that became a red flag. If I have 500 police officers, and that's the normal I have for this particular demonstration, I'll put 100 at circle and put 400 in the garden in front of the police house, in the president's house. And what you do with the 100 is that you speed them up. And when they get particularly to the president's house, you ask them to double up. After that, what is the threat? And what is the level of the risk? Then again, where they had a convergence, where they converge, it's a strategic unit because you have Ghana, Dubai. About 50% or 60% of the people on that building should be police officers in Mufti or have the BNI officers there. They could see directly those who are throwing the stone.
You mean the building surrounding that environment?
And the bridge itself, just by the walkway up there, or the Ghana Commercial Bank building, then you could see directly those who want to foment trouble. And remember, the police have a mandate to maintain law and order. The police have a responsibility of ensuring public safety guarantees are assured. Then the police have a unique power to arrest criminals.
Not enforce.
To arrest criminals,
okay.
which is part of crime prevention. So if you are up there, even without binoculars, it gives an idea as to who is doing what, who is not doing what. Then lastly, you know the organizers of the demonstration. But I am not surprised, Bella, because you see, you just narrated the events leading to the D-Day, going to court, stay of execution, the timing they give them and all that. I think they did not find a common ground, and they came there, the demonstrators put up a show, and my brothers and sisters in law enforcement reacted again, and that is why we are seeing what we are seeing.
Doc, let me bring you in, because, I mean, the concern has been that the police may have planted people amongst the demonstrators, and they're the ones who actually started pelting the stones. Prof, sorry. And, I mean, if you listen to the organizers as well, I mean, aside the fact that they're saying that the police planted them there, they also said they identified one man who was pelting stones at the police. They marched him to the police, expecting the police to arrest him. And for some reason, the man disappeared because the police were not willing to arrest him. They called the commander to even come, and by the time the commander came, the person had disappeared. So they were willing to hand over anybody that was breaking the law on the ground when it was happening, but the police did not act on it.
That was very appreciable. I mean, there is a big difference between crowd control and riot control. And I don't think we have understood this very well. And I think in Ghana, again, we have not been able to try and understand the work of the police and try and understand what democracy is. Yes, we have every right to demonstrate. Organizers have the responsibility of ensuring that demonstration goes smoothly, because there is an end game, an aim. The police have every right also to protect life and property. Of course, on every route there are vantage points, or there are installations which are very, very important to protect. And police are trained for both crowd control and riot control. And if we know, crowd control is easier than riot control. Riot control is confrontational. So the GS that will be used for riot control are different from the GS that will be used for crowd control, for example.
Okay.
This demonstration, I was expecting it to be a crowd control kind of demonstration, so that the police will veer them to the routes that will not end up in what we saw yesterday. So that they being peaceful and the police being peaceful, at least from the admonition of the IGP, would have had a very interesting demonstration. They hand over their papers and peace. But unfortunately, crowd control inevitably everywhere in the world veers into riot control. Because, I mean, you can't control your demonstrators. And when they veer into unlawful acts, it goes beyond you. Then you, as even the organizer, you don't have a control over. The person they claim they are arrested, fine, it's a narrative. That would have been fine if the police had picked up that person. But as soon as the police sees that what is happening is now riot, they change gear.
Okay.
And the application of force moves upwards a little. And then when it turns into a bigger riot, that is what we call mobocracy, when the mob thinks that they have a right to rule their environment, the police will change gear again. That is when you have bullets being used and that sort of thing. And when they are seriously overwhelmed, they will call in the military.
Okay.
So these are the things that at times we don't understand. And my worry as a specialist in these fields and that kind of thing is the very fact that every demonstration is rather riot. Every demonstration, when we say we are going on a demonstration, we are going to riot. Because no good demonstration will have tires being bent on the street. That's criminal.
It's criminal.
It's criminal.
Okay.
Or pelting stones at the police. It's criminal. That's not a demonstration anymore. It's a criminal act.
But in this case where they say they weren't the ones who pelted the stones, it was people that were planted in their midst by the police.
Of course, the police have every right to plant people in there, like you were saying. You don't go for crowd control without putting in BNI, without calling ambulance and things like that. You see, crowd control and riot control is an interagency kind of cooperation. So they would plant BNI people in there to find the miscreants, like he is saying.
But not to pelt stones and
No. The BNI has no right to be unruly or unlawful or put the law into their own hands. No. To provoke things. No, they don't have the right. They are there to pick, information and relay it quickly so that it helps in the crowd control or riot control.
Okay.
So anytime there is anything, I mean, we run courses on this. In fact, the police come for those courses. Crisis and conflict and crisis management.
Okay.
And we show a lot of films. In fact, at times within the crowd, there are bad see, once you say we are going on a demonstration, you have all kinds of people. People go there to get girlfriends or boyfriends. People go there to pickpocket. People go there to settle scores and a whole lot of things. So you have all these people amongst them. So usually there are the BNI, the intelligence people are inside in there to watch all these. At times from the crowd also, there are bad people who really want to worry the government. One of the best of the films I normally use in teaching this is the problem in Belfast, Ireland. You know, where the crowd intentionally, they also have intelligence persons amongst them who veer the police into some topics. Like this one I'm talking about, they cause the police to chase them to a certain point where it's a topic. So it's like a cul-de-sac. So they got the police from this end and from that, and they lynched all the policemen. It's bad. More than 29 policemen died. You know, so such is a situation where demonstrators and their leaders have their own agenda too. It can be political, it can be anything. And the police will have to study the psyche of such demonstrations and know which methodology, which standard operating procedure to use in quelling the riot. After all, the end game for the police is to ensure that there is no criminality, there is no untoward, unlawful kind of behavior, and make sure that people and properties are kind of protected. So what happened? The narratives will be plenty. The leadership will say that, yes, we even saw a police. In fact, I heard one of the narratives yesterday when your reporter was giving. The guy was saying that somebody just said something and the police decided to arrest.
That's Mr. Edem Agbana.
Exactly. Yes, I saw those footages and I was shaking my head because a lot of narratives will come. Somebody will somebody also said that he was just sitting by. He was not part of, and then he was arrested. So these narratives, but they are all part of the game of demonstrations.
Okay.
So we need in Ghana to understand, and if you watch police actions everywhere in the world where demonstrations turn into rioting, this behavior is inevitable.
But were the police up to the task? Because, well, of course, they went there to control the crowd.
Exactly.
It erupted into riots.
Exactly.
Were they up to the task? Did they deliver their mandate on the day?
Well, the point is, it depends on the procedure they were operating with. And then you see whether they have delivered their mandate or not. Because they have strategies. They know which points to protect and make sure that nobody enters the point. If they succeeded in that, no matter whatever it is, they have succeeded. But the point is that the first and foremost is to protect and make sure. So what gear they use? You saw them with the shields. To make sure with those shields and they are clustering together, they are trying to veer or push people to a certain area they wanted.
So that's the right gear for rioting?
Of course. Very, very right gear.
Okay.
You know, but then again, you will see as soon as the FPU was formed, we needed to have educated the public about this. When you see the police, don't antagonize them. They and the security agencies are the only people with the right to use force to whatever level they want. So we need to educate people on these things also. The moment you start throwing stones, they have to protect themselves as human beings first before they protect you.
But that's the thing.
Yes.
So did the rioters throw stones first before the police responded with the tear gas? Because
well, the
narrative is very well at this point. We're not sure who is telling the truth.
But what I'm saying is that at any point you start attacking the police, they are right in attacking you. That's what should come into our mind. Or the military. Any of the security agencies, when you start attacking them, they need to protect themselves and protect the state. So you are third in line. They need to protect themselves as human beings, protect the state before you come in.
Let's look at how all of this started. Because if you listen to the organizers, they say that they had a series of meetings with the Ghana Police Service. In fact, they gave them a 20-day notice ahead of time, as against what the Public Order Act says, that you should give them at least 5 days notice before you embark on a demonstration. They gave them ample time because they knew that a number of issues would come up and they could at least settle all those scores before the D-Day. Now, the police agreed eventually when they decided that they would not end at 10 p.m. They will move it to 8 p.m. In fact, they said the police were the ones who suggested that end at 8 p.m. so that we can provide security for you. Then, on the day before the demonstration, they hear in the media that the police had run to court to secure an injunction, against them on the route and also, the time. So, do you think that the police showed bad faith in this instance because they thought that they had an agreement with the police?
Well, I'm not talking for the police. I'm talking from the point of view of the profession. The point is that the police know their strength, they know the security, they know what to protect, the installations to protect, and whatever it is. So they plan according to all these variables that I'm talking about. So if you say you're going to start a demonstration at say 4 p.m. and end at 10 p.m., they then begin to map it onto their metrics and see whether they have what it takes to help. When they think it's not good, they tell you, or they seek institutional backing, like the court, constitutional backing. The court, no, this we are debating with them the route and whatnot. We don't have enough men to be able, and it's night, blah blah blah. So all those variables count into what the police would require of the leadership. So they will tell them we can't. So can you start from 8 a.m. to say 4 p.m.? These are negotiable. It is when such negotiations don't end well that you see these kinds of things.
But that's the thing, because these leaders said we agreed, even where we wanted to sit and, picket, which is in front of the Jubilee House, just the Christ the King traffic lights. The police agreed to that. They did not raise any objections about that. Even
it's a narrative, and we don't know whom to believe. But obviously, if you are a leader in a demonstration, let me teach them this thing. You look at your end game. That's the most important thing. What do we want? What do we want? How do we get there? This is how we want to get there. The police say they don't. So what is our plan B? What's our plan C? Which will be accepted? Because if any of those ones are acceptable and you achieve your aim, there's no point in going confrontational, because the reverse of it is bad. Beating some of your people, killing some of your people, does not make sense. The last demonstration I was very much lamenting was when somebody was shot in the eye. And then it became a political issue with a minister whom I castigated then, saying that it's not a police bullet and that is some tomato. I mean, you can't politicize such a thing. It was very awry. Such a poor person, I hear that person is dead. For what? Did the demonstrators and their leadership get anything from the death of that or the loss of the eye of such a person? So leadership must also be responsible. If the police say no, okay, they say take this cap, fine. How would that cap help me to achieve what I said I was going to achieve? And it will be a peaceful demonstration, you achieve it anyway. But when you want to go confrontational to the police, they have the upper hand in telling you that we know our security and this is what we want. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Even if they go on your blind side. But again, the police did not respond to these accusations. They have released 2 statements after this rioting. They did not touch on the accusations leveled against them that you agreed that we use this route, that we picket at Jubilee House. You even suggested the time. In all the statements, they did not address that.
Well, I cannot talk to that.
Okay.
Because I cannot talk to that.
But don't you think that, again, I mean, whatever rioting takes place, it stems from the planning of the demonstration?
Of course.
So then that is where they got it wrong?
But that is which the police got it wrong? No, the police cannot get it wrong if the planners rather got it wrong. I want to go to the Jubilee House to picket. Now I want to use the high street. Or I want to use a route that will cause more harm to pedestrians, passers-by, workers, drivers, commuters, and whatnot. The police would definitely not agree. Definitely. They would choose the most, peaceful route that will help them also to manage it well. So the onus is on the police to manage the crowd and to ensure that no casualties or nothing is missing.
Okay. Mr. Kumando, okay, thank you so much, Prof. Mr. Kumando, so let me bring you in because, again, after the police secured that injunction to change the route and also the time, now the organizers of Arise Ghana said that Mr. Bernard Mona, who was the one who went to court with his lawyers, went back to file an appeal and a stay of injunction, and so a stay of execution. So in that case, we're told that that overrides whatever ruling that the court may have given until there's a hearing in Parliament for the stay of execution. So these organizers and, of course, the demonstrators had every right to use the original route that they had as per the law. Is that not the case? So why were the police also preventing them?
We cannot say that the demonstrators did the wrong thing.
You don't think they did the wrong thing?
No, I'm saying that per what you just said, then we cannot say that they planned badly.
I'm just repeating what Martin Kwebu said, and we all know him as a seasoned lawyer, private legal practitioner.
And even if you go by even if you go by what you just said, we cannot therefore say that the demonstrators did not plan properly. What I'm just saying is that they did not come to a common ground, and that created a lot of
granted.
It wasn't, but what Mr. Martin Pebu is saying is that once you file a stay of execution, even if it's going to take another 5 days for the court to hear it, that nullifies the earlier decision by the court to prevent you from using one route or the other. So it goes back to the original plan until the stay of execution is heard. What the police should have done was to have gone back quickly to court to file an abridgment of time and gotten the Chief Justice to have approved that. Then that way they could have stuck to the court ruling. But they didn't do that.
Exactly.
So that is where they got it wrong, according to lawyer Martin Pebu.
And you must also understand that there are various forms of demonstrating. As we speak now, the G7 countries are meeting in Germany. Demonstrators all over the world have come to one place and they demonstrate morning, afternoon, evening. I've stayed in London for 10 years. I have traveled extensively across the country, across the globe. So I don't understand this whole thing about people are demonstrating and law enforcement agencies. I have worked in the BNI for years. And my big brothers and my uncles in the police service should be ashamed of themselves. What are we talking about? When did they leave school and when did they join the police service? Some of us just want to calm it down because we speak for them. But some of the narrations we are hearing in the narrative is getting embarrassing. Because I heard one of the organizers saying that he had a meeting at Obrasport.
Yes, that's Mr. Bernard Mona.
Exactly. And the names he mentioned were the big boys, apart from 3 of them who were not there, were the big boys in the police service that when things go wrong, you can speak to them and they'll go behind the scene and water down the steps and make sure that Ghana is safe. And all of them were there and we saw that mess. Jesus Christ. It's not proper, Bella. If the truth be told, it is not proper. See, if these guys want to demonstrate, no matter the nature or the style of demonstration they've taken up, the police have a duty and the responsibility of ensuring that what the IGP told them was achieved for once. And they made a mistake by saying that order from above. Is it the same Dan Parry who spoke that gave another contradictory order? Or when Dan Parry finished speaking, who is above Dan Parry within the police who gives another order? I'm just saying that the demonstrators might get it wrong, but the narration and the actions we are seeing from the police service, this is not the police we know. And I can bet my last coin that there are police officers you will send to Obrasport that there will not be any crashes we are seeing. I know, I have run with Ghana Police Service for so many years, over 20 years. I know there have been several hot demonstrations in this country, and these police officers are still serving officers. Why are we not sending them there? That is why some people are saying that it is look like a whole stage distraction strategy by some elements who have an issue or a score to settle. Because you see, one way of also doing it is to distract the demonstrators and create a scenario that they were the one causing the problem.
But that's just an allegation, by the way. So we cannot necessarily say that's what the police
and you have a whole strategic overhead where you can pilot with many of your detectives and your BNI officer, the security intelligence community, to be able to help you. And even if we go by the 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., the time the first tear gas came off, it wasn't up to 4 p.m.
No, it wasn't.
Couldn't we manage it far better, considering the history we have from Ejura, the mess up in Ejura, the mess up in the Kranza, the mess up with the Muslim people in Kumasi, and this particular one? I'm just saying that when it comes to law enforcement and security management in the 21st century, there are better ways of doing it.
But how
we are
else?
Just losing it.
Because if we listen to what Prof said, there are levels. So there's crowd control, then you move to riot control. At that point, the police need to change their strategy.
What was
and
the
manage
riot?
The riot.
What was the riot there?
Per what the police statement said, they said that they were attacked.
Not what they said.
No, but of course,
not what the
by...
police statement said. We saw it. The question I asked was that those who threw the stone, the police officers that were injured, were they in the car and the stone hit them, or they got involved with the demonstrators? Who are these police officers? What was their positioning? Because wrong positioning of law enforcement officers can create problem for even ordinary people plying the road, not just when people are demonstrating or they are in that form of anger and they want to demonstrate against the state or the police force themselves. And these are basic things we can color it and we can do all manner of things about it. But at the end of the day, what is the objective? It doesn't look well for the police, it doesn't look well for the state, and it doesn't look well for anybody.
And that is where I've always been coming from. That none of these, and there has never been any demonstration in this country where we don't see this kind of end. So where do we go wrong? And I'm saying, yes, the police have their own standard operating procedures. Now, if you go there with just a few number of people, like let's say a company, there's a company commander, there is somebody, and they have their standard operating procedures from their training. This is what you should do when X happens. So even if Dampare has spoken to them at the theater, that is where events are taking place, the commander is in charge, and he takes responsibility for his men and for the public. And so we can't be sitting here and be moralists, okay? Because in times of riot, there's no morality. It's defense.
Okay. And
that kind of trying to how to handle defense. If you attack a policeman, I know there was a time some policeman was attacked at the psychiatric hospital. This was a detained person, and the policeman had a gun. But because of his training, that you don't have to use a gun on civilians. I mean, he was rather killed. The policeman was killed this some years back. But under normal circumstances, if he had used the gun to kill this person, he would have done no wrong. So we need to understand all these things as public people also. We need to understand that the police have their standard operating procedure. I'm not talking for them to say that they have done nothing wrong.
Okay.
That most of these things that are happening, we should be learning lessons. You know, after every such occasions, they would sit down and analyze the pitfalls and whatnot. In fact, some investigations can even go and some people may be interdicted left, right, center. You and I may not know. But generally, if the police are controlling a crowd, the crowd must itself understand the constitutionality of what they are doing.
Okay.
For example, the very fact that things have changed and we have gotten the court to
so the injunction.
The injunction
from the court, yeah.
From the court. The fact that you have had it doesn't mean you can behave ultra virus. I mean, that doesn't mean that you can take the law into your own hands, because as soon as the police see that you are taking the law into your own hands, then they will apply the very law that applies to them also. Maybe in a very wrong way, and that is what we saw. Maybe in a very wrong way, but they have to react. But, so these are the things that...
Why are they not responding and they are reacting? Because you see, when you go to Kumasi, Dampare went to the school straight up.
Yes.
Because that is his leadership style. He wants to be there.
And
he wants to lead.
Well there with that.
When he went there, he did what is expected of every professional law enforcement officer. He interdicted the three people.
Yeah.
You know why? In law enforcement or security management, like what we saw, there are three things involved. Authority, responsibility, and operations. So on whose authority are you acting? Who takes responsibility for the actions you take, and who gave the instruction? That is why he interdicted the three people straight away. Then there was an investigation for the field officers who were in front. Then some people were suspended, which means that they, on the field of action, or in the field of action, in what happened, misbehave and misconduct themselves. Even though they might have people who are giving them instruction, they are supposed to act appropriately in discharging their role. They didn't do it. In this particular case, you saw what happened. I have been saying that it is time when police people kill people or they misconduct themselves in court, we should investigate. Because, Doc, you see, even in the demonstrations in the Germany now, or even the US one, there was a law enforcement officer who mistakenly pushed somebody down. He's been tried.
That's true.
Demonstrators have right, in as much as law enforcement people have right. We should not pretend, or we should not take the law into our own hands and say that we are law enforcement officers. So under the least provocation, we throw our hands in the air and we begin to fire into the crowd, or we begin to use some measures we think it will deter the people. Then why are we trained as professionals? Where are we trained? 3 times a gun was put at my head. I did not die. You know the things we went through to keep this country safe? Then we are behaving as if we are 2-year-old people and we are fighting some giants. That when these giants come against us, we cannot apply the skills we have acquired over the years. And the least thing we do is that we open our fire. We should not have been surprised that if here had not been Accra and the leaders of this particular demonstration, we would have seen another live bullet being fired. And I'm saying that we should stop that thing. And for once, let's raise the bar above the normalcy and ensure that we experience peace in this country. Other than that, it's not looking well for the police, it's not looking well for the state, and it's not looking well for anybody.
Well, we'll come to the issue of firing.
It takes two to tango. Whilst we are asking the police to raise the bar, and I've always been on that side, we must also ourselves also understand that demonstration is not rioting, and no police force in this world will allow rioting to go. Look at Colombia, anywhere in the world. As I'm saying, there's nowhere in the world where the police will not apply force. They may misapply the force. That's a different level altogether. That's a different argument. But in any case, like he is saying, if the police misapply the force, so there must be some measures to be able to address that.
So in misapplying the force, yesterday there was a video of a high-ranking officer who slapped one of the protesters who had been arrested and handcuffed.
That's right.
Okay, and we have that video. I don't know if we can play it quickly for our viewers to see in case they haven't seen it. So there was a high-ranking official who slapped one of the rioters. At that point, it is wrong.
That's an aggression.
This is wrong. This is totally wrong. This is because what? A police for no any bill home. This is wrong. Because what? A police for no any bill home.
Clearly see that that's the senior ranking officer.
Of force.
Exactly.
I mean,
and there was a police officer who was saying
hold on. But at the same time, I saw one thing which I was very much happy about. Somebody was injured, and I saw two policemen helping him, putting water and
but that's different from the slap that was
that's what I'm
given
saying.
to the man.
So I'm saying that you see the two sides of it. You can have a police officer who is just like, you see, the police are you and me in uniform. So those things that we do, which are negative, they can also do it.
But this is a man who was in handcuffs.
That's right.
There's no way he could have attacked anybody because he was surrounded by police officers.
Absolutely.
Then the commander comes
and these are some of the badness in the police service.
What should be done ideally?
Well, of course, the police have their own.
For the rest of his life, go to prison. Because there was another police officer who was seen throwing stone, captured on camera, because these guys have cameras all over the place.
Is it the man who was in the van?
And
but we're not sure that was a stone.
No, Bella, if the cameras have not seen this one, the narration would have been what? Different once again. And we are doing everything to create a bad image for the police. But we needed this police force all the time.
Procedures for handling such situation. Because if this one gets to the police commission, the police service hierarchy, they will have to deal with it.
Okay.
We can't say that put him to prison forever.
Is that extreme?
Well, is that what the law says? Is that what the police code says? If it is beyond it, you are creating another situation.
But this was clearly wrong.
It was clearly wrong.
Okay.
No, clearly wrong. The man is in handcuffs. It's just like in the States, you see people being killed, people kneeling on their neck to the point of death. That's not policing.
All right.
This is not policing.
There are some allegations of rubber bullets being fired as well. We did not see a mention of that in the police statements. I would ask my security experts what they think about this when we get back. This is TV3 New Day. We'll be right back. Of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College, and also Mr. Richard Kumado is a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. And we've been discussing the demonstration yesterday that resulted in rioting, with different statements being released by the police and also the leaders of Arise Ghana. We have a footage for you. This is supposed to show at what point the police fired the tear gas into the crowd and if it was really instigated by the police or by the demonstrators. Take a look. All right, so this is a video footage of what actually transpired yesterday. And if you watch closely, because we played it twice, you'd realize that the first person to throw, as per this video, was someone from within the police. He was the one that threw the tear gas first. And then the rioters sort of started dispersing, and someone then retaliated by throwing what looked like a stone. Mr. Kumado, so in this case, per this footage, does it then corroborate what the leaders of Arise Ghana were saying, that we did not instigate this chaos, it was rather the police? Or is it too early to use this to judge?
No, yeah, you may have every justification, because in security management and in managing large crowds such as do, you want your actions to be precise, so your decision could be justifiable. The police might do their own internal review to look at what went wrong, what they could have done better. But the point we are making is that it's becoming one of too many. And it's creating that public engagement or public relation issues for the police. We need the police at all times. If we want national sovereignty to be achieved, or, you know, public safety guarantees to be achieved, we need the police. And we cannot allow the police to be dragged down to what we are seeing. The police have the right to use tear gas, like my uncle Doc was saying, when it comes to violence or the demonstrators want to veer. But that is why you are there to manage it. You remember from the beginning we said demonstrators took tires to the road, and that is why police people must always get there before the demonstrators. You just play a video from Komnadon at El-Wak.
Yeah.
The military were there. They control the space, that particular space.
Yeah.
They control the space. They decide, yeah, you have the right to demonstrate, but we want to help you. So we dictate what goes on within this particular space.
But in this case, where we've been told constantly, of course, on the back of the fact that the military is not supposed to be seen, because once they are seen, then that means that they are trained.
The police, as part of their crowd control measures or as part of security operations, whether in demonstrations or in murder or whatever it is their responsibility to control the space. And that is where they call the crime scene, particularly when crime has occurred. In this particular case, the BNI would have got there at dawn.
Okay.
The detectives would have got there a whole night. So you cannot say you don't have men. Even the men in uniform, you can count them were 500. Those are not in uniform might equally be what? 500. And that is why you control the space. You dictate what goes on. And in those circumstances, one of the key tools you use is persuasiveness.
Okay.
And not aggression. You, the law enforcement officer, you want to achieve security compliance. So you persuade the demonstrators.
Is this at the point where you're controlling the crowd, or at the point where it becomes
everywhere you persuade them? That is why there are levels of command. There are some police officers in front, there are some behind, there are some within the demonstrators. You persuade them. Doc just mentioned the case that the demonstrators might choose a path that the police might not want. Or you persuade them.
Okay.
That what is the objective of this demonstration? What do you want to achieve? Can we do it this way? Couldn't we have done it that way? Those are all part of the engagement. At all point, not when it did, even when it degenerates into violence, you saw police officer treating somebody who has been, you persuade them. That is why you are a professional. Today, dogs are being trained in such a way that when somebody runs at you, the dog knows that this person is coming to attack you, or this person is being attacked and is running to you for a cover. And we've all gone through some of these trainings. They know it, and there are people within there. I think we are getting it too wrong too many times. And to the extent that we have a powerful corporate affairs department that may throw out some of these statements, I think some of the lines there would need to be watched again. And particularly when it comes to the grounds and what is expected of them, we need to raise the bar a little bit.
Are we getting the training wrong?
It's not training. I've said that we have political police, we have protocol police, and we have proper police within what we are saying. But what we are saying...
We have what, political police?
Yeah, we have political police in there.
Who are
we have
those?
Protocol police in there.
Who are the political police?
We have proper police in there.
Mr. Kumado,
just
who
take
would
a
be the
visit
political
there,
police?
you will see.
No, just break it down for us, for the people who are listening, so they understand. If
They are political police people in there who were brought in by politicians to do the political bidding for them.
Okay. So do they also undergo the rigorous training?
They go every training, but their decisions are influenced by political aspirations.
Okay.
And they are not professionals. So you don't have them in front of a critical decision-making process such as this. They will mess you up. And that is what it is.
Case, but I would have
Prof, I'll let you come in, please. Just let him
when you look at the trend that has been established so far, it has nothing to do with crowd control. When you go to Ejura, There was somebody who gave an instruction above the head of the police and sending people there because he's the head of the RISEC. And
That's
that has
the regional,
nothing, yes, that has nothing
minister,
to do with crowd control. When we got to a draft in Kranza, what we saw has nothing to do with crowd control. When we got to Kumasi with the Muslim people, it has nothing to do with crowd control. It has everything to do with my brothers and sisters in law enforcement who are becoming a danger or who are becoming a bit more reckless, and they are endangering themselves and endangering the profession we all love and cherish. And they are creating a mess for the whole place.
Prof, let me bring you in because, again, you were on that Commission of Inquiry when the Jura shootings happened. Now, a lot of people would have expected, based on what the regional minister himself said, Honorable Simon Osei, that he was the one that called in the military because he was not around. He was in a meeting. He was told that this was happening. So he had to find a way to control the situation. So he called the military in. Everybody, or at least most people, were expecting that he would have been let off his appointment because he had a role to play in this. And you are a trainer of soldiers. You do understand when a soldier comes in, they said to themselves that we are taught to shoot to kill. So once you call a military man in, then clearly you're inviting them to shoot to kill. Should he not have been let off his appointment like the MCE?
Well, that's not for me to say. The point is this, that we are getting a lot of things wrong in crisis and conflict management.
When you say it's not for you to say, you were on...
It's not for me to say whether the minister should be let off or he himself should resign.
It was not part of your recommendations to take a decision on him.
No.
Why not?
No, because he's the head of the RECSEC.
Okay.
And what he did wrong, we pointed out.
Yeah, but then you didn't prefer, a punishment for him in particular.
No. Our aim was completely different. The point is this, that did he have a right to call? Yes, he did. He did? He did.
A right to call the military in?
He called the military because he didn't call the military by commanding the military. He called the person who was in charge of the military. And as I was saying...
But not to cut you, sorry, but the police have various units. You escalate as you move along, depending on the level of rioting. So could we not have invited SWAT, the FPU, or whoever?
Yes, they did all these. And
did we exhaust all those levels before calling the military?
No, it is the police to determine whether they have been overwhelmed. The police will never call in the military when they are not overwhelmed. And when they are overwhelmed, they call in the military. They brief them as to what steps they had taken and where the failures are. How many men and women they have on the ground, what equipment they have, what information.
But we didn't see all that.
No, of course you wouldn't see.
No, the minister called when he doesn't know what Prof is talking, and he called somebody
if you were watching us on this thing, you saw how when I was interrogating the military commander over there, who was my former student also, and he agreed that most of these things, the lapses were made. And the minister, because the situation over there was becoming tense, just called him to make sure that the military comes in. And there were several lapses. Yes, we said all this in our report. For example, when the regional commander has been called in, he called the units that were already doing some rounds over there. I think some forestry, whatever it is, some Galamsey, this thing, operators in the distance. So the contingent that was sent there was not a prepared contingent for such a situation.
Okay.
And I wanted to come back to what you were saying.
Before you do, sorry, I'm sorry, but I have to keep doing this. I need to ask and exhaust these questions. Now, why is it that as a 3-member commission, you noticed these lapses and you still did not make a recommendation for the regional minister to go to serve as a deterrent? Because then it looks like politicians come in and interfere with these security institutions and they do the bidding of these politicians.
But remember, they are part of the security setup. Part of constitutionally set up of our nation. He's the head of the RECSEC. The RECSEC would have had a meeting and they would have mapped out the strategies and they would have given instruction to whatever units to go in. Our concern was, were these things done? They weren't done. And so this went wrong, this went wrong, this went wrong. In future, let's look at A, B, C.
But what if that mistake is repeated again?
Well, if it is repeated, it's up to...
Because the district chief executive was on ground. There was no communication unless you had other information as a commission, but there was no communication between the regional minister and the DCE. And he is the boss of the DISEC. So should he not have communicated with him so they know exactly who to call in to handle the
RECSEC
situation?
had been informed. and he was not in there.
Yes.
So he informed the regional commander, and the regional commander took charge, called the police commander, and then they conferred and felt that they should send people there. And so for us, you see, ours is what went wrong and why were people killed? In that people thought we were going to investigate Kaka's death. That was not it. But post Kaka, what went wrong? So that what we are seeing today wouldn't have happened. And our recommendations were clear. Those whom we felt did what they shouldn't have done, we clearly said, for example, the
MCE.
The MCE.
Yeah.
Right. And then the commander at Ijra, the police commander, he was very negligent. In fact, it was the anger towards him that created more problems for.
But there are concerns that the MCE took the fall in place of the minister.
He took the what?
The fall in place of the regional minister.
But the MCE was not nowhere to be found even when those things were happening. Was nowhere to be found. He has some of his boys who created most of the mess.
He says his life was in danger, so the police told him to move to safety. So he was not around. He had to move his family out.
Sure, but did he communicate at least with his those commanders, and what actions did he take? Just like the regional minister was not even there on the ground, but communicated with whoever could take up the rest of the listing.
Prof, you don't think that, I mean, letting some of these people go overtime is what has given the police the impetus to behave the way they do lately?
No, I don't think so. That's why I said I wanted to go back to what here.
Please do.
Because what we are lacking in this country is not the political police or whatever it is. If you say there are political lecturers, as soon as you become a lecturer, there is the lecturer line of how to behave. And so whether you are a political police or whatever it is, you are trained as a police officer. And they have their standard operating procedure, their behavior, their code of conduct and everything. And so that has nothing to do, it's bad that we have political people who are influenced by politics to come into the police, you know, or come into the security services. It's very bad. Because in future, if there is something very, very seriously untoward, we'll see ourselves, in fact, it doesn't help even the esprit de corps of these security services. So they come and they are maybe pompous because they know they are backing and that kind of thing. But to train as an officer has nothing to do with your political background.
At all?
Absolutely. Because there is no MPP training for police officers and NDC training for police officers.
But then is there not evidence that when a political party comes to power, they put in their people so that they can sort of control?
That's what I'm saying. When NDC is in power and they put 2,000 people into the police force, the training they are giving is not NDC training. That's what I'm saying. So we don't have to use that to measure police behavior. Police behavior, I'm a trained lecturer, or I got a PhD and I'm a trained teacher too. So the way I'm teaching has nothing to do with my CPP-ness.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
The training modules has nothing to do with politics. You are not trained when we send you to for crowd this thing, make sure that it is an NDC riot, then do this.
Of course.
That's what I'm saying.
Course. Okay.
So let's not berate the police for that. Once you come in, Dampare knows you as a police officer, and he's training you towards XYZ, and they are trained on that measure. But individual differences create those conditions. You're talking about the MCE. A different MCE would have done something different, maybe. So it is that a police officer who slaps the guy who is already handcuffed, you know, could be an officer who has some natural kind of upbringing which gives him that whatever. A different police officer was helping somebody, you know, wipe his blood and whatnot and consoling him. I saw others, like he was saying, persuasion. I saw some other policemen persuading the people, no, don't go here, move this way, no, don't, you know. I saw people like that, and it's part of the training. If I don't go to riot control with just bullets straight away, you persuade the crowd. You try to be at their level until they go wayward. You know, so persuasion, and it is only when they are trying to destroy, to take the law into their own hands, and tear gassing, like he was saying, is part of dispersing crowd. When you throw the tear gas, but you don't have to aim at the body of a person. You throw to let it fall somewhere. It is the gas the tears that come. That's why it's called tear gas. You know, your aim is to disperse the crowd. The thinner the crowd, the less there is some kind of untoward behavior. Exactly.
But the police was silent on allegations that they also fired rubber bullets. In fact, we saw quite a number of people who picked up the rubber bullets and showed it to us on camera. And yet, in both statements by the police, they did not say anything about it. All they said was that we were attacked unprovoked, and we also responded by releasing or firing tear gas and also water cannons. Nothing was said about the rubber bullets. Does it not leave room for conjecture?
Of course, it leaves room for conjecture. As I'm saying, from all these, there will be a debrief, and there will be investigation. There will be a whole lot of post-action kind of whatever, for future study and that kind of thing. They will use this even teaching others later. So maybe through that, or if there is something very more serious and then there's an inquiry, we'll get to know all that. But rubber bullets are part of the GS of the police in crowd control.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, does it look like they've learned then? Because in the past, we've seen that they fired live bullets. There were cases, even in the Islamic SHS issue, they had denied earlier that they fired live bullets until journalists picked them up and showed it to the camera. So in this case, they did fire rubber bullets, but they still did not admit that it was part of, the tactics they used to control the crowd. Is that wrong?
Yeah, it's wrong. And like my uncle said, I think going forward, they would have admitted it, because here is Accra, number one. If a live bullet had ended into the chest of Bernard Bona, it would have raised the temperature in the city very high. So they were circumspect, and they might have gone there with live bullets. But knowing how vocal Sami Jemfi has been leading some of these discussions on the platform of a political party, of the NDC, they wouldn't have wanted to fire live bullets into his chest. Other than that, we wouldn't be surprised to hear many of the narrations I was complaining about. And it looks as if it's forming a trend. And that trend is a very worrying one from law enforcement point of view and from security intelligence managed point of view. That people look back and say, hang on a minute, what is lacking here? What are we doing here? And Dan Parry is a professional police officer. He's one of the best professional police officers we have. Ebeta Brady is there. Kofi Bachi, who is noted for police operations, is there. Many of the guys Kofi Bachi trained at Accra region, Raymond Adofin, and many of those guys, they are still there. This is their area. They have demonstrated over the years that they can manage it peacefully, and there wouldn't be trouble, and they are there. It shouldn't take the likes of us to always speak for police and be pointing out things, police can do this, because I have spoken for the police more than any other person in my life, but I'm saying that these are my uncles, my big brothers, my sister. I respect them a lot. Let's raise the bar a little bit. And forget about politics, because when you are there as NDC, MPP, whoever takes you there, you are a professional. That is why today we are happy for Dan Parry, where he started from and where he is now as the IGP, which has become a thorny issue until Dan Parry came to continue from where people who have gone on retirement. Let's encourage Dan Parry to get a job done. And it will motivate some other people to know that I can also work through the police and get to where I am now. But many of their mistakes and, the misconduct, their unprofessional kind of thing is creating a very bad image for them.
Should the IGP resign like some of the demonstrators were saying?
In some countries, he would have resigned. Recently, some happening, is it the US or in Britain, and the person resigned. Black people generally don't resign. Africans don't take personal responsibility for the actions of their people. They don't resign, particularly when he instructed them that you go out there, I want to see A, B, C, D, and they did exactly the opposite of what happened. That means that leadership has a problem. There's miscommunication, and somebody is undermining somebody, just like we saw in the case of the Takrade girls. And that was the same trend that is happening. And we wouldn't want to say it publicly, but we have to start saying it, that somebody is seriously undermining somebody to create problem for leadership. And if care is not taken, he will be shown the exit door.
Demonstrators are already converging at El-Wak this morning, but the second statement released by the police indicated in point 3 that the organizers of the demonstration will be arrested and put before court for their attacks and damage to public property in line with the provisions of Section 3 of the Public Order Act, Act 491. This is a statement from the police service. And does this put the rest of the demonstration in limbo? Because if the leaders are going to be arrested, what happens?
They should have arrested them by now, but that they've left them into the street, then it gives them the power to also mobilize their people. And I only hope and pray that we have only one country called Ghana, and whether we are demonstrating or we are providing law enforcement, let's be circumspect, let's be prudent, and ensure that public safety guarantees are ensured, whilst we also achieve the aim of whatever we want to put out there, because there are many days ahead and many things are going to happen and nobody can tell what the future holds.
Prof, won't this arrest of organizers of Arise Ghana raise the temperature of the already
Sure, that was what I was going to say, that in managing conflict or crisis, you will make sure that you don't exacerbate the situation by some actions, because you make heroes of them. In most places, when you are having such a situation, like he say, you have your intelligence officers on the ground, and make sure that they commit. You set the red line, and when they cross the red line, then you can arrest them. But I strongly suspect that today, right now, this morning, if they arrest the leadership right away, they would have created a condition for heroism.
Okay.
For the followers.
These leaders.
Exactly.
Okay. And so they shouldn't.
They shouldn't.
They
I don't
shouldn't.
think they should continue to engage them, because policing is about engagement of the people.
Okay.
To understand law, to be law abiding.
Okay.
So
all right.
I wouldn't recommend their arrest.
Thank you so much. And good morning to Dr. Nyahunya Otamaklo. He sends a message saying communication is very powerful. It's a very powerful way of solving problems. This is my message to the IGP. Nanaya says the state, these so-called security services are to protect includes the citizens. Without the citizenry, the state is almost non-existent. Professor Vladimir's submissions, I'm not sure I quite agree with all of them. Good morning. This is from Nana Yao. All right. Well, I wish I could read everybody else's message. Forgive me if I can't, but happy birthday. Okay, let me see if I can find the other one. I skipped it earlier. I'm not sure I'll find it at this point. Let me just go ahead. Happy birthday going out to Emmanuel K. Was Danku. And also good morning. Well, on business today, fuel price adjustments. Will tell you what to expect and why. We'll tell you what will happen if you fail to update your bank account records with your Ghana card before Friday, the 1st of July. Another gold mining company will be listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange today. We'll tell you what it means for the stock markets. Details of these and other issues will be on our business segments, midday 7 p.m. and more extensively at 4:30 p.m. Thank you so much to Professor Vladimir H. Danso. He is the Dean of the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College. And Mr. Richard Kumado is a fraud prevention expert and security consultant. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we'll keep apprising you on happenings on the ground at El-Wak. Komladum is still there. Keep watching TV3 New Day. This segment has been proudly brought to you by Nish Cocoa and Nish Chocolate Drink. So get one for yourself and enjoy it. We'll be right back.